And that is the one thing, and people see it as like Sean when he's going for his backyard ultra, and he'll try and make an Ireland team because there's not many people silly enough to do them kind of races. But it's but with this, as you said, the elite status and people we know and friends who've got into it, they have been phenomenal runners. They've been phenomenal swimmers, triathletes, and it's the muscular endurance and the mental ability. Does the mental
Mm.
side come in as is kind of where I'm going to next from having your experience in Challenge Rot and the ability to just go, it's just another rep and keep in control, I suppose, of the effort. How do you manage that? And is that
Yeah,
where your experience comes in?
yeah. I think my biggest strength probably across the Hyrox was managing effort. I know exactly what I can put out for an hour, and I'm able to pace it very very much correctly from the start, where other people are not pacing it properly at all. And I think that's probably the biggest thing with a Hyrox. The second one then is probably suffering. Like you have to have an ability to suffer. If you're not willing to suffer, that's what it's going to come down to. It's about suffering. It's about juggling lactic for 60 minutes, and that comes back to being able to pace your effort. Because if you go crazy on the sleds, which 90% of people will do, and that comes down to ego. It's always the men. It's the women more stick to a plan. But if you and me are pushing side by side, there's always kind of the glance to the side, and you're like, well, I'm bigger than he is. I'll I'll push it faster than he'll push it, and then we both come off the sled totally wrecked. And the guy who paced himself a couple of lanes down runs past us. So it's definitely about pacing and knowing your own limitations is a big thing. Like, and when I said runners coming into it is a bit easier, compromise running is very different than normal running. And there'll probably be, we'd always say to people that, say we did 8 by a kilometer off a minute's rest. If you add 20 seconds onto that pace, so if you're doing 320 for all those kilometers off a minute's rest, you'll probably run your Hyrox race pace to be like 340, 345. It'll be like 25 seconds more than that 1 kilometer pace. But if you're a really, really good runner, like you said, you have some really good runner friends, their difference is usually way bigger because their compromised running is never going to catch up with how good they are at actual running. So if they can do them 8 by kilometers in 3 minutes, they'll probably still be 345 or 350 in a Hyrox. It'll be 45 to 50 seconds difference, just because they've never practiced that compromise thing and they don't have the weight. Like you have to be, if you're doing the pro division, you have to be over 80 kilos, or the sleds are going to crush you.
And then the sleds come in pretty early. I want to talk a little bit about your Team Hogan coaching and stuff in a minute. But for those that don't know Hyrox, almost like a quick fire round. I'm just going to quickly go through the event and like one or two very quick tips
Yeah,
on each one. So we went through the running build up 90 minutes before. So this basically for someone not to win, but like their first one is, let's say it's November, Dublin first one, and it's the type that wants to do Hyrox every weekend. And it's like, no, you need to, pick your spots and stuff like that. So 1,000 meter ski. You've done your first 1 kilometer, you're on a 1,000 meter ski. Half a letter up to 10 in a dampener, big mistake, or try and get off it quicker, or what way would you go?
there's a massive mistake. Don't even change the dampeners. They're set to 6 in the men's race and they're set to 5 in the women's race. Leave it there. Too much muscular fatigue if you ramp that up any higher. So you're better off using it where it's at, and then slow it down. So if you've done 1,000 meters in training in 4 minutes, well then I'd be looking to do 420 in Hyrox. Like that's the way you have to pace it. You can't go your 1K max at the start of Hyrox.
You're beating the person beside you. That's all that matters. 50 meters. So you do your 1K again, 50-meter sled push. By pacing yourself, would you like stop during the track on the way down, or just before the legs get tired?
No, stop every half a length, because once the lactic accumulates on the sled push, it ain't going anywhere for a long time. So you have to try and starve it off. So you have to
Same
break half a length.
same approach to the sled pull.
No, the sled pull is different because of the stop start nature of it. Like you only can pull it back, and then you get a break walking forward to pick the rope. The only thing I'd say is don't drop the rope. keep it in your hands and work it through your hands as you move forward through the box. And your break on that is basically when you switch to the other side, you should walk. You'll see guys running, and then when they get to the other side, they stop for a break. And like, why not? Kind of just walk across.
It's experience where you say like that, but I just looking back at it from last year because I've seen people different divisions. The amount of people that would run across that and then hand in the hips and by the thighs, I'm like, yeah, it actually makes perfect sense the way you say it now. Just they're in that race mentality, I suppose, without actually thinking logically. So after that, you've got your 1K run, burpee broad jumps for 80 meters. Is it trying to get as far as a bigger jump on every single broad jump to do less burpees? Is it half in that, or is it just you got to grind this one out?
You just got to kind of figure what works for you on them, because like some people, like we've a 22-year-old son who, like, he has coil springs in his legs. He takes a few jumps and he's able to eat the meters up. I obviously can't do that, so it suits me better to do more reps. Suits him better to do less reps and jump further. So you got to kind of just figure what's best for you, and they just suck. Like, nobody
they look awful. They look awful. That alone puts me off doing them. Like I was seeing it. I was doing a marathon the next day, and I wasn't fit for the marathon. I was like, I'd rather suffer for 4+ hours doing the marathon than do burpee broad jumps at all in a 90+ minute race. Like awful stuff.
Have you Impossible Mile thing?
What's that?
Have you seen that Impossible Mile?
No. What's that?
Oh, I have on the track.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Sean. If you think the 80 meters is horrible, wait until you hear this.
What's this?
It's 400 meters of lunges first, is it?
Yeah.
400 meters of burpees, 400 meters of bear crawls, and I think you get to run the last one, do you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna look it up now, so we have it. But it's essentially that. But like, again, I've seen videos of the gym junkies showing up, going, "Oh, we can do this," and they are broken. Broken by the first. It is absolutely disgusting looking. Now, like, even the thoughts of it, like I wouldn't. Maybe you're different, huh? I don't know if I'd even attempt it, because I know I after 200 meters of one of them, I'd be like, I can't make it around. Like, if I was able to split it into 50s, perfect. But you're not allowed change until you finish the 400.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely disgusting.
Is this just a cruel challenge, or is this actual competition?
I've seen it lots of places lately, so it must be. It probably started off as some crazy challenge, and now someone is like, "Okay, I'll make a competition out of this." Do it. We'll charge him to do it.
While Eric's looking that up, 1,000-meter road, and after you somehow got through the burpees, same thing as the ski?
Yeah, you just slow it down and kind of take stock of where you're at that point. You have 20 odd minutes to go, so it's kind of a good place to. And lots of people actually take gels or take jellies, or if they're taking on some sort of fuel, they'll do it there.
Stage. Next one then, 200 meters fabric carries after another 1K run. Is this just grab on, hold, and just march it out? Like, there's not too much to that one, really. Just focus on grip strength.
Yeah. Race it.
Yeah. Sandbag lunges for 100 meters. This one is probably the one where the burpees, they were lying on the ground, but I couldn't see. But because people were standing, that you could see them having a conversation face to face with God in this one. Just seeing how far they had to go, and just being like, and I'm thinking the people are probably listening. I'm like, how are they still going and pushing? There's just phenomenal stuff to keep driving through that. Horrific. The camp is technique to that one, or
you kind of have to carry the knowing that you're almost there. Is the only thing that kind of keeps you going through them. Like, I think if in one way they're harder because they come so late, but in another way it's good because I think if they came in the middle and you thought to yourself, geez, 30 minutes after this, it would be soul destroying. It's that you kind of know I'm almost there. I just got to get this done. It is just a war, basically. Like, when it gets at that stage of a race, it doesn't matter what the race actually is. When you get down to the last kind of mile or whatever, it's just a war, isn't it? It's just how much can you actually beat yourself up at that point. That's all it comes down to.
And that brings us to the last one, the wall balls. That's the
ultimate in beating yourself up.
Has it been an unbroken 100? I saw something about like there's a Red
Yeah,
Bull tag or something like that if you get 100 unbroken wall balls. Have you
yeah.
attempted it?
It's starting to happen a lot now. But it's so different. I don't know if people have done a lot of wall balls to listen to the show, but I can do 150, 160 here unbroken at home, even
Oh
after work.
wow.
But in the race, you get to like 50 and it feels like you've like a ton. But the first guy to do it in a serious competition was that swimmer, Alex Ronkovic, last year at Europeans. And interestingly, he told us at Worlds. He told us after the race. He didn't tell us before the race, obviously, but he had trained it to try and do it, and he could only do it if he slowed his previous run down by 15 seconds. So he tested and tested and tested, and figured out that if he slowed down that last run by 15 seconds, he could go unbroken. And when he did
Wow.
the math in his head, then he was like, right, if everyone is running 3:45s and I run 4 minutes, and by doing them unbroken, he actually did them in 3:20, and everyone else was doing them in like 3:50. So he saved 30 minutes on the wall balls, but he gave away 15 minutes. But like, it was crazy because to have that much confidence in yourself. At the time, he was like, I think he was third in the race or something. He dropped back to like fourth and ended up coming second because of the wall balls. So he was confident enough to say, I'll lose a few paces here because I know what I can do when I get
Com-
in on the wall.
Competitively, that is so hard. For your last kilometer run where you probably just empty the tank to go, you know what?
Yeah,
A full 15 seconds slower and like conserve energy while those that are probably around you are going that bit faster and you're probably
yeah,
like dropping down that leaderboard near the end. Like that
yeah,
is, like you say, mentally, that is absolutely phenomenal. Is there
yeah.
stuff like that that's coming out in the because of the sport is getting bigger and bigger, and like you said, in the last couple of years, like it's just thousands now doing it in London. Are you finding that a lot of records are getting broken quickly in this last year or two, with different strategies and approaches, and the sport's just more evolving?
Yeah, like the every record is just dropping now. But things are changing a lot too. Like new equipment suppliers, people say the sleds are lighter now. They're not lighter. They're just brand new sleds all the time by new equipment suppliers. So they're obviously going to move a bit faster when they're nice and shiny underneath and everything is nice and slick and there's no rust or anything like that. So that's a big factor of it getting faster. That all the equipment is all brand spanking new now all the time. So that's a big thing towards the records. Courses are they're able to get bigger venues now, which means now you have these ones, especially in Spain, where they're like effectively 400-meter running tracks. Like there's banked curve, not banked curves, but actual curves instead of right angles.